Can they trust you? That's what people are looking for. It's the harder work to do, but it's the much more valuable work that needs to be done.
Welcome to What's Working in Direct Selling, an exclusive podcast from DSN. I'm your host, Rob Sperry. Every episode, real leaders break down the specific strategies, results, and systems driving their success right now. No fluff, no theory, just what's working today and how you can put it to work in your business. All right, welcome back to the podcast. We always have very, very specific topics because we know with all of you guys want us to get to the point. You guys want to know, like, what are you listening for? What solutions to help you out in your business? And so just so you guys know, we vet the leaders that I interview. It's a process of, who I think. I go through the DSN and we go back and forth on this because we want to make sure we have people that are the real deal. So we got my good friend, James Zhang. How are we doing today, my man? Just got back from Maui incentive trip. He's an absolute legend, traveling the world, right? Making the business happen.
Absolutely. Nice and tan, ready. I'm out here in San Diego, and then I left for Berkeley, and then now I'm back. But I haven't been this tan since I first left, so I feel good. Ready for this podcast.
Oh, well, that surprised me because I know you're everywhere. I know you're in Australia traveling for everything. James has got 17 years in this profession, which is pretty cool. Never switch companies. I never make judgment if someone does or doesn't. Sometimes it's the best thing for them. Sometimes it's the worst thing. But I think it's pretty cool when it's worked out and someone's seen that vision and someone has that commitment as they go. And he is the #1 growth rank, which it's cool how you guys have that separation with growth rank. I love that for recognition. Out of 400,000 partners. So I want you guys just to think about that, how cool and unique that is. And today we're going back and forth on titles because we like to make them super specific. And so we're going to talk about some of the differences of the old school type MLM direct selling versus modern day now, right? Where everything is just quick results with this generation. And it's not even just generation, it's all of us, right? Everything's it's like we've turned into microwave society rather than the oven society. We know everything tastes a little bit better in an oven than it does in a microwave. And then through that, we can talk about how he was able to 10x his volume and have that growth. We always keep it 100% compliant. We know that it's really hard. It takes a lot of work. There's a lot of circumstances and things that happen. But we're going to go through that. So let's talk about this old school versus new school. I mean, first off, before we go into strategy number 1, and you can answer this and go into strategy number 1. What does that even mean? Old school, new school?
Totally. So I grew up in, and I'll label this old school in the sense of how network marketing tradition was built, meaning, so I started back before social media was in play at all. So you would get started, you make your list of 100 names and numbers, you'd contact them, you get them on through phone calls, you drill, you drive everywhere. And you could expand where you could drive to within a 75-mile radius or try to translate into kilometers. I don't know what that is. But basically, if you couldn't drive there, then you couldn't expand. And it was very heavy on meetings and repetition and drilling and all of that. So I label that as old school. Nothing against old school. In fact, I think there's trends going back to that old school because principles are timeless. New school, I would say, is adopting with social media, now with AI. How do you take advantage of technology, leverage that global opportunity? And then the quick growth that can happen from that, expanding out of just your warm market around the world and actually be able to have flexibility and freedom from wherever that you're at because you have the phone and the internet. So I'd say that's kind of old and new. With that,
the old school, right? Where we had and some of the stuff is so great. Like you said, it's not saying good or bad. It's just the mentality. It was like, I remember I felt like every single night I was driving to some sort of meeting and then Super Saturdays, 4 hours ride, sometimes 2 hours and stuff like that. So that makes a ton of sense. And also maybe talk about before we go into strategy number 1, like the mentality, because everything shifted a little bit different with mentalities.
Totally. Old school, I would say there was more of a patience in the journey. We would tell people, all right, this is going to be a little grind for a bit, but if you stick with it for 3 to 5 years, then maybe you can retire. Like that was kind of the dream. So I think people are more willing to stick it out without making much money for a while. New school is we have like the attention span of like a fly. It's like, I need something quick. Tell me what to do. I don't want to think. I need to make money like yesterday. If that's not there, then I'm out because we are competing now against not just network marketing. I believe our biggest competition are things like affiliate marketing, which network marketing base is like, but or other e-commerce businesses, or there's AI businesses. There's a lot of competition out there that we do need to battle against that attention span of. So I think that's a different framework of, I need something now, yesterday, make it easy, make it quick, like that.
I remember exactly what you're saying. When I started, it was like, it's going to take 1 year to learn how to do this business on average. Some are going to go faster, some slower. 3 years to make a full-time income. And there's no guarantees on that, but it's to give you perspective. And 5 years to start to make a big income and 7 years of world-class income. Yeah. Now, you never hear that. Now it's like, how do we get a check in hand and get a small win right away as we go? And so I love it. And I love how we're talking about mixing the two and marrying the tool, right? Old school, timeless principles, like you said, they never change. And then there's some new school, modern day techniques and cool things that work. So with that said, I'd love to hear some of your strategies because I feel like you have done such a phenomenal job of understanding the old school mixing with the new school. I know you're a huge student of, you always ask me different questions on like you're trying to up your game on social media and different things, and you're marrying those two together. So give us strategy number one.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of put this together into a 3-phase approach, and I'll go through each one of them. So there's a phase 1, 2, and 3. So the first phase now is when you launch your business, what we found to be very powerful, duplicatable, it's scaled globally, is a really simple done for you marketing system that allows the newest person to make profit in their first 7 days. This needs to be something which is low tech, not hard, like it's like the lowest hanging fruit possible, and to be able to help people to make some money. So for us, what we found is, and it depends on what you're selling and what you're promoting in your company, but we have a product that is visual. So we have some testimonials. Of course, you want to make them compliant and everything. But what we found is we lead with one of the products and make it very simple and social. Compared to old school, we used to sell 10 products at a time, for example. New school, you lead with one to make it very simple on the social media algorithms because we just want repetition like crazy. I think it used to take 5 to 7 follow-ups for a conversion. Now I think stats are saying at 13 plus, 20 plus, right? There's different stats, but way more. So one message, very simple, something that is really eye-catching, something that gets people to stop the scroll and say, what is that? So we built out an attraction marketing. So for us, it's literally 2 posts a day for the first 7 days. We give it to them. We give them the caption. It's like normal. It's not way over marketed and stuff, but it seems like something that a normal person would post. That has allowed us to be able to put a system in someone's hand that's looking for that quick win. Because as I mentioned before, we're competing against these other quote unquote quick win things. Now we know long run, that's not the only thing to do, but we need that belief check. And $1, I think this is still the same stat, $1 earned buys you 90 days. So we implemented that system. We give it into people's hands. We use an app. I'm sure a lot of network marketing companies use boards now, whether it's boards or whatever, something that you can just give it to people so they don't have to think, they could just do it. So it buys you more time. That'd be strategy number 1.
Yeah, I love it. I know I'm familiar with what you guys do. And I like how you guys keep it so simple. I love how anybody can do it. The goal really is progress, and you're getting the small wins right away. And like you said, $1 earned buys 90 days. So the whole goal is the beginning is people are directional thinkers. They're going to bed with nightmares of this is too hard. I can't approach you and I can't do this. This isn't for me. I don't have the personality. I don't have the style. I'm too busy. Or they're going to bed thinking, oh my goodness, if Julie does this,
Mm.
she's the crazy introvert, president of the PTA. She's making best friends with everybody on the airplane and everywhere she goes. This could blow up. And so we're directional thinkers. So getting those small wins right away, because you can't teach them anything else if you don't get there. So I'm excited. This is some juicy stuff. Let's go into strategy number 2.
Yeah, strategy number 2 then, and we go customer first. These days, what I think is I'm a business builder, and I think a lot of people that are listening to this, you like to build business. But what we found is for the general population, it's way simpler to just promote the product, which is ultimately what we do, right? Of course, we sell products to the end consumer and service to the end consumer, but leading with that is key. However, we then need to introduce what we call phase 2, which is the duplication piece. How can you convert a customer of your product or service into a partner? So what that looks like is teaching a simple follow-up system. For us, it's check at least once a week. And then when they have a win, have a very simple conversion script. So alongside with the quick attraction marketing stuff, give scripts. What do you say when they're interested? What do you say when the customer comes back and they say, I'm loving my experience? So a simple upsell conversion script, something like, I'm glad you love it. For most companies, I think this will work. If there's a way to show you how to get this for a discount and even make some extra money on the side, just by sharing this with people that you know and love, would you be open to that? So some type of a conversion script, and then get them plugged into some type of business presentation. We don't just want an elevated, glorified customer that's getting a discount that shoots yourself in the foot, that's devaluing the service for them, but give them some type of business presentation. And these days, I think people's attention span, it is very short. If you have a quick one, 5 minutes-ish, that gives the gist of what to do, and you can have an expanded one too, but give a quick one that allows them to see the potential of making some money, how simple that it is, getting a discount, and then convert them to the partner. So 2 is that, and then helping them go through that same launch system. So 1 and 2 married together, that's what leads to some duplication.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And a couple of things I want to point out, how you said lead with the customers, because almost every owner I talk to is like, oh, I want more business builders. And it takes them a while to realize that I understand that, but 95% of your audience can't do that. It's too scary for them. So you got to make the system duplicatable.
Yeah.
And then you can go phase 2. And the ones that want to just build and don't go for the customers, they're going to do it anyways. That's like your secret little ninja program that you run, right? And make it happen. And then the other things that you made mention of, when you were talking about like scripts, what I love is you said extra money on the side or a discount on products. Mm-hmm. And I want to point something out that you said, and I hope everybody caught it. James didn't say do this as a business, because that's overwhelming to a person that's a customer. And that's skipping, imagine a staircase. That's going to, step 5, and they're going to fall down the staircase. Business is overwhelming. But when you talk about, hey, if you're liking this product anyway, let us show you some things you can do, posts that you can make. And if anybody's interested and they buy, you can get a discount on your product or make a little bit of extra money on it. How does that sound? And that right there is a baby step that's so important for phase 2. And I feel like that's such an untapped gold mine for many companies and leaders, where they finally start doing good at customer acquisition, but not phase 2 on conversion. And then with that, like you were talking about, in your own words, of meet them where they're at. I'll ask you this question, because I know your answer, because we know each other so well. How do you match or mirror someone's energy? And what I mean by that is, there's some that are so eager, they're trying to make everybody right. This is a business, and it's like trying to take the kid that wants to play soccer for fun to, you got to be a pro. You got to be a pro. Yeah. So maybe talk on how you teach that or ensure that people aren't going one extreme or the other and asking questions and mirroring.
Absolutely. I love that example of a staircase. I'll add on one more visual to the staircase, because in communication and leadership, imagine you're leading someone up or down a staircase. but that person has a blindfold on. And the only way that person can go, let's say down the staircase, it's more dramatic, is that they must follow your guidance and you're leading them with your hand. So one step could be, for example, I'm attracted by a customer product post. I now want more information. I'm not going to go to step 5, which is business presentation, because that's me jumping down 5 steps and saying, hey, come with me. You're literally dragging this blindfolded person down the steps and they're getting like, hurt right there. So the key in any type of leadership is to help make sure that whenever you take a step, your person actually wants to take that step for you. Sometimes they're not ready for that step. Maybe they want to chill in the step. It's not for us to determine where they should be. Of course, we should paint the picture. Of course, we should call life into people. But it's important, if we're truly here to serve them rather than serve ourselves. And I think that's where we fall short, because we're like, I need this right now because I need to hit a promotion or whatever, right? Or maybe you're super excited and you're like, I need them there. Well, that's not how anyone got developed. And one other thing that I say to people, Rob, is when I'm coaching the team, they're like, man, I can't find any excited partners or leaders. I want leaders. And I backtrack. I'm like, well, how did you become a leader? Was it overnight? And they're like, no, I became a customer. I used the product or service. I came to some event, and there's like a process, right? So I'm like, if that's how you became a leader, why would you think there's any different process for someone brand new too? So we can't shortcut that microwave versus oven, right? We can't microwave bake these types of leaders. Well, you can. The downside is, and I think that's one thing that's actually really hurting the industry now and profession, we are trying to microwave pop out leaders left and right, but they're not actually full baked developed. They're still rare on the inside, so to speak, and they fall apart. So development does take time. The process does take time, but it's well worth it, if that makes sense.
Makes 100% sense. And I look at it, and too many people think their check is their leadership. And we know people that maybe their company's not in momentum, and they're figuring out some things, and they're making $10,000 a month, and they're an incredible leader that is just in that time where you're working through it. And I look at it as someone who could be incredible at surfing, best in the world. When there's no waves, good luck, right? And then you could be on the other side where you've got this incredible momentum with this company, and they've got this massive check making $100,000 a month, and they think they're the world's greatest leader. And that happens so often in this profession that it's danger. We got to look at it and understand. Sometimes you're much better than your check, and sometimes you're not even close. And that's why DSN and Stuart Johnson, he's so big on, when I wrote Built to Last and Direct Selling, he was the one that kept reading. He's like, hey, got to add more to leadership development. I'm like, I'm on it. Personal development, that whole chapter was because he went back and said we had to do it. So such an important piece, always back to the basics. Strategy number 3. What do you got, my man?
Strategy 3 now. So you have, assuming you have phase 1 and phase 2, you have to do them in step. You can't skip one. So always be in phase 1, always be getting new customers, always be in recruiting mode, right? Phase 2, then be really good at converting, enrolling, duplicating that simple process. Then you can go to phase 3, which these are all within the first 90 days, like optimally. Like this is not a drawn out experience. Most people, the first 90 days are super important for someone that's really going to launch and develop their business. But phase 3, I mean, that will look like I've got maybe 10 customers. I've enrolled 2 partners. Like around there, you're really getting into your warm market, and you never exhaust your warm market. That's the lie, right? We always have a warm market. However, it is true that just logically speaking, if you have 1,000 friends and you're marketing the same thing and you're not growing your friends list, you're not growing your connections, you're repitching the same people, that'll slow down the conversions, right? So it is a numbers game. So we have to find ways to expand your audience to new people that don't know your message. So phase 3 is now when you start developing your personal brand. It's when you now start to understand social media more. It's when you now start to tap into, how do I share a message with the cold market, with the world that doesn't know, like, or trust me, and really understand that game, which is the harder game, because that's true marketing, right? That's true advertising. It requires you to be, there is no filter on the world to us, right? Your friend might give it to you. Your mom might give you praise. My mom still, God bless my mom, every single post, every single video, still likes and watches everything. So shout out to the moms and the supporters out there. But the general world will not give you the time of day, right? So really being able to learn and to master that. And one way to do that, and I'm not talking about crazy hormosy branding or something, right? There's a process in this, but it's really being able to understand who you are authentically, what you stand for, what is your story, and how do you then show up on the social media platforms? Maybe pick one: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever floats your boat. Pick one to really harness down and double down on. So, a strategy here is get some of the people in your company, perhaps, that are really good at this and start putting together a mastermind, start putting together a group. In our company, we developed a group. Currently, it's called the Millionaire Mentorship, might be shifting or pivoting, but it is a group that you qualify to be in. So we added actually another driver. So they come in and it's designed to give them higher level development. Now it's actually, we're about to embark on a 14-week branding masterclass. People like a Fraser Brooks and others within our company, just getting that intentional part of development. That's going to take at least 90 days for a social media brand. But we can't only do that. I think another mistake that happens is people jump and only do social media and they just start posting and praying and hope that that happens. We have to constantly do the basics really, really well while developing this other place. When that shifts, everything shifts for you. Quick story as I end this one. So right before COVID, we started to realize like we should start understanding online a little bit. I was never on social media. I started as an introvert. I was so shy I couldn't order food at a restaurant. Learn the skills, network marketing, best development plan in the world, right? Social media, even worse. Then I heard about TikTok from the late and great Jesse Lee Ward. And I'm like, TikTok, that's for the dancers and the weird people and like OnlyFans. I'm like, I'm none of this, right? Then I started to understand, all right, there's some power to this. So started to really dive into that. And you're going to suck again, right? You have to start sucking before you get legendary and iterate, 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 embrace that suck. And 300 posts in, finally, I figured something out where one thing went viral. And that led into enrolling, I think it was like 75 new partners, 150 new customers. And I started to understand cold market. I'm like, okay, there's power in this, but it is a development process, it's another skill set. But once you get all these pieces, 1, 2, and 3 phases down, everything runs in harmony and you have no fear because you can constantly bring in more to the pipeline. You have a strong duplication process. You just keep on going until you find the right partners and life's good.
That's so powerful. Such simple concepts. I always say successful people just do the basics better, and it's mastering those and figuring out what the most important things and doing them over and over again. Any other strategies you feel like are pertinent to this old school, right, 100%. New school merge?
100%. The biggest thing, especially with AI, we were just talking with our founder and some other top leaders. I know you speak to this a lot. With an AI generation, at the time that we're recording this, I'm predicting probably in the next year, anything online will automatically be doubted of its legitimacy. Like it's already starting to happen, right? And what that means is the things that are missing are going to be even more important. Authenticity is massive, which is good news for us because I used to think you had to be super good at editing and hire a content creation team, and those are fine. Nothing against that. But authenticity, just being you and being comfortable with you is a big thing. Now, that also means that there's a major opportunity, but it also means that there's major development that needs to happen. Because to be authentic, it means that people are going to see the real you, which is the biggest fear that a lot of us has, which is why we're not authentic. We feel like we have to put on a mask. We've lived in an over-filtered world. We feel like we have to put ourselves out a certain way. And because of social media, the pro is it's expanded a lot. The con is of the old school, ultimately the principle is we are in a people business and we're in a people development business. And if we have not been working harder on ourselves than we do on our job, as Jim Rohn says, then that will be so obvious as people are looking out there. One of the biggest things that any top leader does, and one of the biggest reasons why we've attracted leaders and had retention. I'm talking about how to have people come and stay and grow. People can come and get attracted by a quick little attraction thing, but they'll only stay if they have an interaction with you and they're like, I actually feel better about myself because I'm with you. So here's a question for everyone. Do you feel comfortable hanging out? If someone came out, your top leader came out with you and hung out for you for the day, would you feel comfortable with that? And would you be confident that they're going to leave more inspired? Or would they leave uninspired? That's a real check. Because if you can work on yourself where you feel like, no, people need to hang around me. And I would submit now more than ever, people need true human beings that have high integrity, high character. That's why I love everything you do, Rob, because you're always about ethics and values and everything. If you truly choose to adopt to become that type of person that God's called you to be, and you're working on yourself, you're never perfect, right? We're always a work in progress. But if you feel comfortable about authentically being you, no, without any filter, you will win big time as you do these phases, because ultimately people buy and join and stay and grow with people they like, know, and trust. Can they trust you? That's what people are looking for. It's the harder work to do, but it's the much more valuable work that needs to be done.
That's why I'm so excited about what we have for those that do it right, because there's certain things you just can't automate, and automating real relationships and real human connection where people are getting less and less and craving it more and more. And yeah, there was a transition, I felt like, on social media, but now it's going to transition more and more offline. Like, I think back to the days of Grant Cardone. Doesn't matter, you love him or hate him. It's just an example.
No.
He's just posting, right, everything of just jets. And then all of a sudden, years later, you see him jet with kids and wife and family, and there was a transition.
True.
And that's just a general thing that we started seeing. But now we're starting to see even more with how much AI there is, those real relationships. And we're not saying you got to be best friends with everybody or anything like that, of course, but you can't create real relationships with just a text. And that can help. And again, not saying, do not misinterpret, you got to be best friends with everyone, but people are craving some of those events and that culture and that community as they go. And so I look at that now and I'm thinking, as you're saying it, I think books like How to Win Friends and Influence People will become, 100%. When people read that, like, mind-blowing now, even though it's always been incredible, but mind-blowing now. Go ahead, share your thoughts.
That was literally the book that I had in my mind. I was just listening to a PBD podcast with Nick Shirley, and it's the one book that Nick Shirley, he's a private journalist, that he said, this is the book. So yes, 100%.
That is the book, and I feel like that's going to be mind blowing. Like, I'm thinking of there's a version of it for kids too. I've had my two older teens read it.
Wow!
But it's so important and valuable as you go. Well, James, I really appreciate it. I want to ask you one last question as we finish, and sometimes I ask this question, sometimes I don't. Depends on where we're going and how I feel it. If someone were coming to you right now and they say, that's great, I understand your whole starting phase. I've been in the business now for about 4 years. I'm stuck. I go to every event. I'm on every single Zoom. I've lost the belief, but I won't quit because I just love being around it, and I hope someday things will change. What can I do? Now, I want all of you to listen to this, not just for yourselves if you're that struggling individual. I want you to listen to this as a leader if you're doing well, of how you can better convey and communicate to your teams, because good leaders have vision, great leaders give vision, and we're always learning from other leaders how to better communicate and articulate so we can help our teams create better duplication. So I'm struggling 3.5 years or so, and I ask you all those questions. What would you say to me?
Oh my gosh. Well, sister, brother, I was there not that long ago. We had built up our business, multiple six figures, was on got the trophies, got the trips, kissing the babies, doing the thing. And all of a sudden, it went dark overnight and business turned around. Finances are horrible. I went bankrupt and devastated. But I never quit because we learned that early on. So
And
I
what year, to
understand
give people specifics, did
this
you
was
go bankrupt?
2017.
Okay, great. I mean, that's
Business.
not that long ago.
Not that long ago. This was 6 years into our business build. And we were just like, I was devastated. I'm usually the hope-filled, vision-filled person. So it was the first time in my life that I would say that I would experience depression, meaning I couldn't control my emotions. Yeah. I knew the right things to do. I learned enough training to not quit, but I wasn't getting results because I was just second-guessing myself on every single step. And for me, honestly, it was a faith thing. And what I mean by that is I'll try to make this as applicable for anyone, is ultimately you will only get in the marketplace what you deem your value to be. And what I realized was this: my value was tied to the accolades, was tied to the rank, was tied to performance, basically. But anything that can shift or vary is not a strong foundation to have your value set on. And I really had that. That's why I was in this hypocritical, really tough state of mind. And maybe that's where you found yourself. You've probably hit a rank. You're probably not getting paid at that rank. You're probably showing up and they say your rank and you cringe on the inside because you're like, I am a walking hypocrite. I am not for reals right now. Well, who said that that's how valuable you really are? The marketplace might say a certain value, but where does your value actually come from? And I remember hearing a pastor and he said, where does your value come from? And he said, well, value is determined based on what someone will pay for something. And I'm like, all right, if you try to sell your house before a certain value. I'm like, well, how much are you valuable for? Well, there's a God of the universe that loved you so much that he paid for your life. He died for you on the cross, resurrected. If you believe in that, then Jesus is invaluable, infinitely. That means you're infinitely valuable. And for me, that clicked. And I'm like, why am I so victim mindset? I already have everything that I need. Everything that I do is not to try to fill in a void. Everything that I do, if I'm already coming from that place of infinite value, is out of overflow. And from that day forward, Rob, sister, brother, everything shifted. And I will tell you this, I was still bankrupt. I was still $12,000 a month in debt. I was still trying to figure out finances, but I was able to reapproach the business with a new vigor, a new levity, a new light, a new excitement, because it was out of service. It was out of excitement. It was out of overflow. And based on that, then I was able to do all the right things and move in the right direction, and everything changed for me. So I'd submit to you, check what your value system is. I'd submit to you, flip it around. I'd submit to you, come from a place of grace and excitement and joy and overflow. Look at your business as service, not just your own personal needs. If you solve other people's problems, your problems will disappear. I'm praying for you that you get that breakthrough, and I know that you can do it. If I could do it, for sure, you can do it.
Well, I'll sum that up with one word: perspective. That's what that is, and that's what life's always about, right? Is our perspective as we go can make a huge difference. Doesn't ever make it easy. There are times when it's really, really difficult, but James has been there. He's been there. He's been there at the lowest of low times. I've been there at the lowest of low times. I used to think everyone was lucky when I was during that time, and I was a victim, unfortunately, and blamed. And so if you're there, have some hope. Got to take some action, but have some hope. And this podcast gave you many strategies on very deliberate action you can take to reignite your business. You can consider day one right now. You can help new team members or even old team members that are struggling with their day one. James, I appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time to come on the podcast and sharing your secret sauce strategies and all of the things that have helped you out in your business as you continue to have success. What an incredible profession we have. If you guys are tuning in, I always tell you, or I do most of the time, please take the time, if you haven't yet, to leave a review. That is the greatest compliment, along with massive leverage of sharing this with your teams to help them to have more success. Until the next time, my friends,